Welcome to the news, the weekly show where TJ and I discuss the music news headlines and new music releases that have grabbed our interest and that we want to share with all of you. As always, we can't cover everything, so if we missed anything, please share in the comments and show us your support by clicking like and playing these videos to the very end so that the YouTube algorithm recognizes us.
Yes, please do. And this week, we're going to be discussing headlines and new music releases for John Lee Hooker, Nirvana, Julian Lennon, Simple Minds, King's X. But first, we want to start off by just giving a little congratulations to the Beatles and Peter Jackson for winning 5 Emmy Awards for Get Back. Yeah, they've officially walked away with 5 Emmy Awards. I'm going to read a little bit from MovieWeb on this. Peter Jackson was awarded the Emmy for Outstanding Directing for a documentary nonfiction program. The series also took home Outstanding Picture Editing for a nonfiction program, Outstanding Sound Editing for a nonfiction or reality program, and Outstanding Sound Mixing for a nonfiction or reality program. Get Back utilized mostly footage shot in 1969 for the 1970 film Let It Be. Footage that was utilized in Get Back went through intense restoration processes for both picture and sound, and the process was perfected from the production of Jackson's previous documentary, 2018's They Shall Not Grow Old, which is another really great film if you get a chance to see that one. And but just congratulations,
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see that longer cut of Get Back at some point. Who knows? I talked about that in a previous video if you want to check that out. But with that said, Robert, I'll just go ahead and hand it over to you.
Hey, TJ, that is an amazing and perfect segue because I'm going to kick off at least my discussion part of this episode with highlighting and praising the return of Julian Lennon, who has just released a full-length album titled Jude. Now, it's hard for me to even wrap my brain about this, but it's been more than 11 years since Julian Lennon last released a full-length album, and that was 2011's Everything Changes. That was also a very good album. But I want to say the wonderful news for fans of Julian Lennon is his abilities as a singer, songwriter, of literate and expressive songcraft is as great as ever. Julian now, and this is another thing that's kind of hard to believe, he's 59, so he's almost 20 years older than John Lennon when John was murdered. So it's crazy to think that Julian Lennon is almost 60. I mean, just time is going by so quick. But really, if as we've often said on here, there's a lot of clutter, not a lot of terrestrial radio to maybe hear new music, but seek this out on your favorite streaming service, or if you want to buy the album. Jude is really good. It's filled with emotive and lush originals, kind of mid-tempo rockers and more ballads, but these are really poignant and affecting songs, and I can't say enough good things about this album. Some of my favorite songs on there, if you want to check out, there's this really soaring song called Round and Round. There's something that I would describe as a baroque or chamber kind of power ballad called Love Don't Let Me Down, and then there's a beautiful shimmering song titled Freedom. Those, you might want to start there, but any song on the album I think will make you want to continue to listen.
Cool. Yeah, you covered that last album back when it came out, back when we were doing the Music Worth Buying show. You gave that album a good review. I remember back then, and you played me some tracks. It sounded really good. And this just came out this weekend.
Yeah.
With not a whole lot of fanfare.
No. I mean, I did a Google search after I wrote my review. My review premiered on Desert Local News, but it will run in my Music Worth Buying column with some other reviews coming up. And you're right. There was a few articles about it here and there, but it's just shocking now that Julian Lennon goes more than a decade without releasing a new album. He does, and it gets so little attention, so it's up to the fans and people that are discerning listeners to really seek this out and make sure that you give it a listen and support it.
Absolutely. And of course, if you want to read Robert's full review of the album on musicworthbuying.com, or I should say on his blog page, which is called Rock and Roll Truth, but you can access it by just typing in the URL musicworthbuying.com. You can access his blog because Robert covers a whole lot more than we can talk about on this channel here. And so for all his album reviews, music Blu-ray concert reviews, check out his blog, musicworthbuying.com, and for the full review of this album. And so I'm going to go ahead here and talk about a band that has taken longer than 11 years to release their latest album. It's entitled Three Sides of One by the band King's X. This is their 13th studio album, and it's their first studio album in 14 years, although many of the members were involved in various side projects in between. Now, the album came out last week, and I have to say a couple things. One, full disclosure, I have been out of touch with this band. I have only known them for their late 80s album, I think it was 1989, Faith, Hope, Love, which I discovered back when it came out. Loved the album, thought it was a really great album. I described both the band and the album at that time as sounding like what if the Beatles were a heavy metal band, was how I described their sound. Great songs, incredible musicianship. And I have to admit that this album is quite a bit different from Faith, Hope, Love. But then again, you have to expect that bands will change, that they're not going to sound the same, as they did, say, 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. But this album, I would say that a lot of what I felt were obvious Beatle comparisons from Faith, Hope, Love are gone on this album, which is not bad. Once again, the only exception being that I would make a comparison to the White Album, and the fact that this album kept surprising me from track to track. It kept switching genres, melodic shifts from song to song, and sometimes within the same song. And I really liked this album a lot. I continue to like it more and more as I keep listening to it. I listened to it again today as I was writing down notes for my review and just saying, wow, just wow. This is a great album. The opening track entitled Let It Rain has guitarist Ty Tabor, hopefully I say his name right, playing these discordant guitar chords that feel like they could have come out of Andy Summers' guitar arsenal, only 10 times darker and ringing out over this single deep synth note. The whole thing feels very desolate and cinematic, and it doesn't let up even after the band kicks in. And as discordant as the guitar chords are in this song, the lyrics also reflect kind of have this discordant feel too, and that they reflect the anxiety that I can relate to every time I look at where we are in our country right now here in the United States. Just all the divisiveness and anxiety that's going on right now. That's to me what the lyrics of this song felt like. And I've always been aware of the fact that a lot of the lyrical themes in King's X songs deal with spirituality. And this first song attests to that fact, and that the protagonist of the song is desperately crying out to God for salvation for the world in it. But this is not what I would label Christian rock spirituality or lyrical spirituality. Christian rock is a term that King's X have rejected. When people have tried to give them that label, they've said, we reject that label. This is more the kind of universal spirituality that you hear in the lyrics of artists like, say, George Harrison or U2, where pretty much it's adaptable to whatever your faith is in most cases. Another song, track 3, Nothing But the Truth, has a little bit of that Beatles buoyancy in it, but also feels, displays a really heavy influence of Motown soul in it as well, combined with slow burning dark metal, if you can picture that. Track 6, entitled Take the Time, feels like it could have come off a Styx album. It feels like a progressive rock song, but with just that pop sheen, that pop sheen to it. Track 11, entitled She Called Me Home, feels like it could sit comfortably as a ballad on an Ozzy album. It has that kind of feel to it. Track 5, All God's Children, opens with this very beautiful Celtic acoustic instrumental section. It feels like a more complex version of Lady Jane by the Rolling Stones. And then it's followed perhaps by the most Beatle-influenced track on the album. But even then, that influence is an undertone, as I can hear so many other 70s progressive rock influences on this song and throughout the entire album as well. But of course, it's all made a lot darker by Doug Pinnick's crunching bass and drummer Jerry Glasgow's hard-hitting drums. This is a very eclectic metal progressive rock album, is how I would overall describe it. It's an album that can jump from pop bordering on cheese to dark angry metal, but it's also an album that features three incredible gifted musicians who've been playing together for over 3 decades, and their musical tightness between each other is evident on each song. And over the week, as these songs have grown on me, I have to say that I'm embarrassed personally that I haven't listened to any of their work in between Faith, Hope, Love, and Now. I'm really embarrassed to have to say that. I don't know what was wrong with me. I really should. This album has kind of hammered that point home. Anyways, that's my review of the latest album by King's X, and entitled Three Sides of One.
Well, and I'm embarrassed too, because I haven't heard this album yet. And I'm telling you, TJ, I'm going to make sure that I listen to it this week. It sounds fantastic based on that's quite a compelling review that you just gave. So I'm definitely, it's a promise to you and all the viewers out there. I'm going to definitely check this out, and we'll plan to work them in my collection of reviews that runs in the next week or so.
Cool. And I'm going to check out Jude, definitely.
Yeah.
And so I know you've got some more news.
Well, yeah, now this is news. Now this is something that I haven't heard yet. And again, I'm very excited to announce this. John Lee Hooker, who passed away a number of years ago, the great and influential bluesman, his best-selling ever album is called The Healer. It was released back in 1989. Wow. And this album is going to be reissued. It's been unavailable for more than a decade. It's going to be reissued via audio CD and, of course, also vinyl. Now, this album, in addition to John Lee Hooker and kind of reintroducing him to blues fans and the world at large, featured guests, including, and I think everyone out there may recognize some of these names: Bonnie Raitt, Carlos Santana, George Thorogood, this great band people might know, Los Lobos, this great soul blues guitarist and singer Robert Cray's on it. So this was quite the album. I mean, people that were influenced and loved John Lee Hooker stepped up and all joined on board. So this is going to be coming out in October and on October 28th to be specific. And so you can check that out and learn more about the album. I'm sure you can find the news about it on his official website, and just wanted to share that with everyone. I'm personally very much looking forward to hearing the album, because I've seen John Lee Hooker a number of times toward the end of his life in concert, but I'm not real familiar beyond some of his greatest hits that are on a collection I have. So I definitely want to check this album out as well. And it's called The Healer.
I remember when it came out. Yeah. And at the time, like I said, I was still a bit more immature than I am right now. And I probably didn't regard blues as much as I do now. And so, yeah, I'll definitely want to check that out too. I have, over the years, of course, gone back to the earlier catalogs of a lot of the blues artists that I ignored when I was younger, including John Lee Hooker. I have this wonderful album of him playing live at a college university. It was released in the 60s that I just really treasure. It's a really great sounding album. But glad to hear about that. And that was one I overlooked the first time around. I will not overlook it this time.
Exactly. We're both going to catch up.
Yes, exactly. And so next, want to just follow up on a story that I did talk about separately on this channel a while back. I believe this news is going to make everybody happy. Nirvana has won the Nevermind Baby lawsuit. And I'm going to read from Rolling Stone here. U.S. District Court judge says that Spencer Eldon waited too long to file a child pornography suit, effectively ending his suit over the iconic cover image. And I'm sure you are all aware with the story of Spencer Eldon, who was the baby who appeared on the Nirvana cover, who then was, I guess, several months, he filed a lawsuit saying that this was child pornography done without his consent. He was too young to consent for it. I'll read from the story here again. Nirvana has won the lawsuit the band faced over their Nevermind cover art after a judge dismissed the case. Filed by Spencer Eldon, the baby seen in the iconic photograph for the final time, effectively ending the child pornography suit. In an 8-page ruling, U.S. District Judge Fernando Ogwin wrote that the lawsuit would grant the defendant's motion for dismissal again on the grounds that Eldon waited too long to file the lawsuit, based on a 10-year statute of limitations. The judge continued, because plaintiff had an opportunity to address the deficiencies in his complaint regarding the statute of limitations, the court is persuaded that it would be futile, to afford the plaintiff a fourth opportunity to file an amended complaint. We are pleased that this meritless case has been brought to a speedy final conclusion, said Bert Dexler, hopefully I've said that correctly, a lawyer for Nirvana. And so that I'm just glad that ended the way it ended. I thought it was just the dumbest lawsuit of all time. I'm sure you did too.
Oh yeah, I know. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, and I don't want to say too much, but I was recently I was selected to be on a jury in something similar. It's like, and it didn't take the jury long to say, hey, this is ridiculous. This shouldn't have we shouldn't even be hearing this, but we did take it seriously. But yeah, you just hate for the courts to be tied up with these kind of silly things when there's real cases that are, I think, consequential and important that they should be addressing. But
yes,
yeah,
especially in light of the fact that he took advantage, that he actually for decades promoted himself as the Nirvana baby.
That's yeah, exactly. TJ, great explanation point on what we've been talking about. Exactly. Yeah. So I want to end at least what I'm talking about today with a follow-up story. I know an episode or two ago, I shared with everyone how excited I was about Simple Minds has a new album coming out on October 21st called Direction of the Heart. Well, just a few days ago, the band released an advanced track as an official new music video. Now, I want to talk a little bit about it. Not only is the song fantastic, it's titled First You Jump, but the video is spectacular, and it actually may tie in a little bit with the sound of the album. What happened is apparently several members, including the lead singer of Simple Minds, live in Italy. So the music video was recorded and filmed, or should I say it was filmed at this ancient theater in Sicily, this ancient Roman amphitheater. So it's just a spectacular video to watch. But I guess because they were living there during the pandemic and the quarantines and stuff, they couldn't get back to England or Scotland to record the new album. So they actually recorded it in Germany. But so that may have something to do with the sound of this album and kind of the approach. But this is the second advanced song that I've heard so far, and I'm very, very excited. This song is just phenomenal. It kind of recalls kind of the pinnacle and the peak of Simple Minds in the late 80s and early 90s, but there is a contemporary energy to it, whereas the band hasn't, like, they're not just a nostalgic act. I mean, you can tell that they're still moving forward, and it's just a spectacular song. So just want to share with everybody, go out and just go to your favorite search engine or go to YouTube, and you'll be able to watch the video and check out the song too. But it's fantastic, and I can't be more excited about this album, which is coming out in just over a month from now.
Let me ask you, stylistically, how would you describe the track? Because I haven't heard it yet.
It's a lot of atmospheric and compelling guitar from the but there's just a real driving, propulsive quality to it too. But Jim Kerr sounds as great as ever. He's, like you and I have talked over the years, some of the vocalists from the 80s or earlier have lost kind of that soaring quality that they had. He's lost none of that. He sounds as great as he did when he was in his 20s. So they have that going for him, but they just sound very inspired here. The song is just really powerful, and just the band is this is just a soaring anthem that just makes you feel fantastic.
Cool.
So and even the title, it's this has been a very dark time, I think, since kind of the pandemic hit, but you listen to this song and it just makes you feel very good.
Excellent. Good. I'll look forward to checking it out.
Yeah.
And that's all we have for this week as far as news is concerned, and new music releases and reviews of albums. If there's anything that you felt we should have talked about, please bring it up in the comments so we can all check it out. And Robert, thanks for coming by, hanging out,
Thanks, TJ.
talking about the music. Always cool. And we'll look forward to doing it again next week. And we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you thought, anything you want to say about anything we've talked about today. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you making it to the end. And as always, if you like these videos, hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon. And a big thank you to the patron supporters. Patron supporters receive exclusive weekly videos not available here on the channel, and they get their names in the credits. And if you'd like to be a patron supporter, go to patreon.com/TJR, the original. And don't forget to check out Robert's blog at musicworthbuying.com. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.